Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Well, greetings, friends. Welcome to this April 16 edition of Nightcast. Opening story tonight from the United States. There's several stories tonight, friends, a little bit crazy in the news. This one from the United States. A gyrocopter has landed on the west lawn of the U.S. Capitol building. Emergency vehicles rushed to the area, and a robot bomb detector was sent over to the gyrocopter, followed by a bomb disposal operator. Come to find out, it was the driver was Doug Hughes, a Florida postman, who wanted to deliver a message about how campaign finance reform, something about campaign finance reforms from Congress. Ben Bland has the details.
An unexpected visitor drops in on Capitol Hill.
This is not good, people.
And everyone gets a little jumpy. This is our...
Friends, we're going to hold up that... Oh, there, it finally came through. It was... I don't think it starts in the black like that. Let me try cycling this, and we'll put it back up for play. Here we go, from the beginning.
An unexpected visitor drops in on Capitol Hill.
This is not good, people.
Okay. Friends, because...
Everyone gets a little jumpy.
Because we were trying to set up some things for live streaming, we had to change some of our camera shots, and let me do this. We'll get over here. We'll get this figured out yet. And things are in a little different place than they usually are. So, one more time, we'll start this from the beginning. We're live, and friends, when you do a live broadcast, sometimes things happen. I think we got to straighten out, though, now. Here's Ben Bland.
An unexpected visitor drops in on Capitol Hill.
This is not good, people.
And everyone gets a little jumpy. This is, after all, restricted airspace. Yet somehow this small helicopter landed on the lawn outside Congress.
I saw a very low-flying helicopter, a single-person helicopter. It really looked sort of homemade.
And this is the man responsible, Doug Hughes, a 61-year-old postal worker from Florida. He says he had no violent intent. It was a stunt to deliver anti-corruption letters to all members of Congress. And he pre-recorded this video.
I'm going to violate the no-fly zone non-violently. I intend for nobody to get hurt. And I'm going to land on the Capitol Mall in front of the Capitol building.
The bomb squad checked the gyrocopter for explosives before removing it. President Obama has been briefed on the incident, and an investigation has also been launched. Meanwhile, police arrested Hughes, who could now face charges. Ben Bland, BBC News.
Well, friends, if we weren't so uptight about a lot of things, maybe something like this could have been done a few years ago, and people just, smiled it off or winked at it or whatever. But a little different situation today. Another kind of a weird and strange incident in the news today over in Europe. A protester jumps on Mr. Draghi's desk at a news conference.
Inférieur à mais proche de 2%.
And dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship!
And as they holler away, she continues to holler whatever she was hollering there. And this happened with European Central Bank President Mario Draghi, who, as you saw in this video, looked shocked when the protester jumped on the desk in front of him at a news conference in Frankfurt. The incident happened as Draghi was about to speak about the European economy. And then Friends, a next story also related to Europe. Dozens more migrants are feared to have drowned after reports that another boat carrying people from North Africa capsized in the Mediterranean. Earlier this week, 400 people lost their lives after another boat capsized during the crossing. Italian police also say they have arrested 15 Muslim migrants who have been accused of throwing Christian migrants overboard during an argument about religion. Aid agencies say not enough is being done to save the lives of the rising number of people trying to cross the sea in Europe. Well, let's not make light of that fact that some of the Muslim migrants threw 15 Christian migrants overboard after they had a row with them. James Reynolds has this video report.
Without a word, this group of migrants stepped off their rescue ship and into Europe.
Combien de jours étiez-vous dans l'océan?
How long were you at sea? I asked this man from Mali.
Combien? 3 jours.
3 days, he said. The arrivals include this 10-year-old boy, also from Mali. Italian investigators have heard some horrific stories of violence at sea. Today, a group of Muslim migrants was arrested. They're accused of throwing Christian passengers overboard in an argument about religion.
Now that is pretty incredible. James Reynolds was at the quayside in Sicily as the latest migrants arrived. Friends, we're cutting out from it there because I wanted to leave it on emphasizing the point about the Muslim migrants throwing the Christian migrants overboard. Now, why do migrants take the risk that they take? Many migrants leave Africa in search of a better life in Europe. Hundreds risk their lives on dangerous boats in rough seas. Middle East correspondent Quentin Somerville spoke to some men in the port of Misrata, who were willing to put their lives at risk for a new start.
Yeah, I've been here about 2 years now, trying to go to Italy. This is the 4th time I'm trying to go. All the 3 times, they get me back. In prison, I will try and go. I fight for my money. I just go to work every day. When I came from the prison, I pay my own money. I go to work and pay my money to go again. It will not be succeeding. And for me, I can. This is my destination. I cannot leave it. I have to do it really, and it's my chance to get back to the world, because we can say Europe is better than Africa.
What do you think is going to happen to you now?
No, for me, it's like I have been in the game for a long time now. Yeah.
This game?
Yeah, this game. They take you to the prison, treat you badly, but how can we do it? We accept it.
Friends, basically, as they're saying in this report, Europe is better than Africa, and so that's why people migrate. Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin takes calls on his phone-in show. Well, not his show, but takes calls on his phone-in with the Russian public. President Vladimir Putin has been taking calls as part of his annual phone-in with the Russian public. He spends hours fielding a variety of questions on many subjects, including the Ukraine crisis, the EU sanctions, and the impact of falling oil prices on the economy. Richard Galpin has this report.
16 апреля в 12:00 по московскому времени.
The TV trailer for this marathon phone-in highlighted President Putin's momentous decision to annex the Ukrainian region of Crimea last year. A decision leading to a wave of patriotic fervour in Russia, but also sparking the worst crisis in relations with the West since the end of the Cold War. So high on the agenda for Mr. Putin at today's question and answer session was whether the Russian economy could recover from the impact of Western sanctions and the collapse in oil prices.
All right, friends, we'll come on out of that right there. That's a little brief look at what's happening with things regarding Russia. Next story, the skipper of a fishing trawler has said his boat was towed by a submarine 18 miles off the coast of Ardglass County Down this afternoon. No, wait a minute. What day is today? Today is the 16th of April. All right. Once in a while, you know, you can do this. We had a long, and I don't have any of my little phone aids with the date thing in front of me, or that tells you what day of the week it is. We had a long electrical outing. Not outing, but outage today, friends. And let me bring this forward because, you know, I'm a little embarrassed unless I can straighten this out with us. All right, today is Thursday. All right, so this happened yesterday, Wednesday afternoon. This story I'm about to tell you about. Paul Murphy said damage, well, we don't have video on this, so I've just got to tell you. Paul Murphy said damage had been caused to his trawler named Karine, and his crew, and he says they were lucky to escape unharmed. The Ministry of Defense said it did not comment on the submarine activity, and I'll see if we can get further information on that in the days ahead. We do have this story out of the United States, Atlanta, Georgia. Teachers there are being jailed for up to 7 years over test cheating.
Years to serve 7.
It was more than they'd expected.
2,000 hours of community service and $25,000 fine.
Judge Jerry Baxter was not in a mood to be trifled with as he handed down the sentences.
You sit down, I'm going to put you in jail. If you yell at me, point at me.
The group of former teachers and education officers in the U.S. city of Atlanta were all involved in one of the nation's largest test cheating scandals. In all, 35 people were charged for fabricating student results to secure promotions and bonuses.
I don't know why he's saying he can't understand what's happened to him, or that he's not taking responsibility because he was in charge of that school.
Only 2 of the defendants admitted their guilt in return for a lighter punishment.
Do hereby sincerely apologize to the students.
They'll have to serve weekends in jail and do community service. Evidence of cheating was uncovered at 44 schools with nearly 180 officials involved.
There were thousands of children that were harmed in this thing.
It's expected the group will appeal in the coming months. Katerina Moe, BBC News.
Okay, friends, and a 2-minute silence has been held in Israel to remember the 6 million Jews who were victims of the Holocaust and were killed in that Holocaust. People stopped across the country in remembrance of the lives that were lost during the Holocaust.
Some fishing repairs are to be expected, but these have come as a bolt from the blue.
Friends, it looks like we do have audio on that fishing story that I was telling you about, but I would like to save that to Sunday night, and let's go to the 2 minutes of silence in honor of Holocaust victims that occurred today in Israel. As while that continues to play in the background, I'm just going to remind us that, as Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong pointed out to us, we are now in between round 2 and round 3 of World War, with round 3 commencing at the beginning of what you see on this chart. After the 4th seal, you see the 5th seal labeled the Great Tribulation, which is what Jesus Christ described in plain language as the 5th seal, a time of the martyrdom of God's saints. Let me put let's come out here a moment, and we'll put we'll go into one of these pictures on the screen behind me that shows this little crown. It's not a small crown, it's a rather large crown. I've seen it in person, and they say it really isn't worn other than for a few moments in a coronation ceremony. Otherwise, they suspend it by wires from the ceiling, and they just hang it over the throne where the dictator, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire sits. It's a big thing with big gawky jewels on it, as you can see right in the center of this photograph. It's going to be worn one last time by an emperor, a dictator that the Bible calls a beast, the 7th and final head of the Holy Roman Empire. When he wears this crown, it'll be the time that, as I mentioned a moment ago, the Great Tribulation commences, the time of World War III, the time of the greatest martyrdom of God's saints. It'll be the time when those who have been doing what Christ instructed in Luke 21, verse 36, who've been watching world events, those that relate to the first 4 seals, and praying about them, and of course watching their conduct too. And Christ promises these who do this, these brethren who do this, will be accounted worthy to escape this great tribulation, and they'll be flown to a place in the wilderness prepared by God just for this purpose and time. It'll also be the time of 2 witnesses, and that time could be coming up soon, brethren and friends, because, I say brethren because I believe a lot of our viewers are brethren, but there's some of you that don't know what I'm talking about at all. I'll just call you friends. This time of great tribulation that's coming could be coming soon, because the 4 seals are extremely active now. And let's switch back over to those 4 seals. We'll come back out and talk to you. Those first 4 seals you see in the middle of our slide, extremely active, and Christ gave a comparison and said, just like when you see the branches on a tree, a fig tree or any or all trees, when you see them become tender and the little buds begin to spring forth, you know that summer is near. He said, likewise, when you see the activities of these 4 seals really increase, when you see all these things happening, he said, know that the kingdom of God is near. And for the kingdom of God to come, we've got to get through the 5th seal, the Great Tribulation. That's a 2.5-year period. Then the astro signs and the sun, the moon, the stars. Then the sealing of 144,000. Look, we'll take this slide over to all 7 seals. See, I meant to go from that one to this one here. the 144,000 are sealed, and then the seventh seal, which is called the day of the Lord. This is the true day of the Lord. It's not a day of the week. It's a whole 1 year period. A day in prophecy as a year with God, and there's also places a day is as 1,000 years in certain situations. But in the case of this prophecy, the day of the Lord is a 1 year long period, and it's comprised of 7 trumpets that make up the seventh seal, and the seventh trumpet itself is comprised of 7 last plagues. It's something that those who take the mark of the beast during the Great Tribulation will be around to suffer. But you are offered an opportunity. All of you listening right now, you can seek the eternal for this opportunity that's promised in Luke 21:36 if you watch and pray always about the things you see happening in the world with your heart, asking God to bring your kingdom. You're promised an opportunity to escape both the 5th seal of the Great Tribulation, and we zip through the heavenly signs and the sealing of the 144,000, and you can avoid and skip the day of the Lord, which is a punishment by the wrath of the eternal, by the wrath of God. Some people have thought, the Great Tribulation, that's the wrath of God. No, that's still during the days of Satan and man. That is Satan's anger. And it's nothing like God's anger. God can really put the screws on. But, of course, many will be martyred and lose their lives during the 5th seal, the Great Tribulation, because if they don't bow down before the beast, or if they refuse to work on the Sabbath, they will receive. They won't receive the mark. They'll be martyred. And it's something, as I mentioned, you can avoid if you get with the program like pronto, like right now. Well, friends, thank you for joining us on this Thursday night. That's it for this edition of Nightcast. We're off Friday night and Saturday night. We're on the weekend on a different channel. I'll be talking about something very, very special this weekend. In fact, I'll make a light mention of it now. It could be upsetting to some of you. You may want to be praying about this, even beginning immediately, maybe even going into a fast that some are recommending. The administration that took over the church that God built through Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong, an administration that went apostate, 180 on the teachings of God through Mr. Armstrong, which now calls itself Grace Community International. Sounds kind of like a retirement community I remember down in Seal Beach, California. But that administration has gone onto YouTube and caused 3 channels there that were providing videos by Mr. Herbert Armstrong to be totally shut down by making copyright infringement claims against every one of the videos posted that featured Mr. Armstrong in a World Tomorrow telecast or radio broadcast. And they've caused those 3 channels to be totally shut down. It only takes 3 strikes to shut you down on YouTube for copyright infringement. And sometimes these claims are made fraudulently or unmeritoriously. And it takes a big battle to turn them around. I've had to turn around some that I've had made against me, and so far I've been able to prevail. But in the case of all of the hundreds, and in one case over 1,000 videos put on, most of those videos are just showing a graphic picture but playing a radio broadcast to which Grace Community International claims the copyright, and therefore by making those claims, YouTube gave over 1,000 strikes to one channel. Only takes 3 strikes to shut your channel down. And those channels, sad to say, have all been shut down on YouTube. So I may have more to say about that this weekend on our weekend channel, but just passing that along to you, it made for a very sad afternoon from the moment today that I read about that, and then perhaps it's going to make some of you sad too. But don't forget, God is still on his throne and in charge. He did tell us there would be a famine of the word coming, and perhaps we're just at the doorway of that, and that could lead rapidly to Philadelphia being taken away, some persecution coming first that will escalate into Philadelphia being taken away on the 2 wings of an eagle to a place of nourishment and final training, protection, safety, and to the Great Tribulation. We'll see. So, like I said, I plan to talk just a little bit more about that this weekend, because the impact of that, of not being able to play Mr. Armstrong's broadcast without getting a copyright strike put on by the new administration of a longtime church organization that now calls itself Grace Community International. Some kind of grace, that is, God's word by God's end-time servant and apostle. Friends, that's it for this Thursday night. God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll be back here on Nightcast Sunday night. Until next time, and we'll be here on the weekend too, on a different channel, for those of you that know about that. Until next time, this is your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, saying so long and good night, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.